Hello, and welcome to another episode of Social Workers Rise. This episode is brought to you in part by CHEP, the host of the 11th Annual Addictions Conference, Inclusive Recovery, Addressing Diversity and Co-occurring Disorders. This week, we are talking with Tomika Flowers. She is an LCSW, and she's also a renowned speaker and seasoned mental health professional with over a decade of experience as a senior social worker with the Department of Veterans Affairs. She's an adjunct professor and group facilitator. She specializes in transformative education. Tomika empowers individuals, groups, and organizations by addressing financial literacy, mindset shifts, and practical self-care strategies. Through her engaging financial workshops and rejuvenating retreats, which I am really interested to hear more about these rejuvenating retreats. She inspires lasting change and personal growth. So I'm so happy that you are joining us here today. Welcome to the podcast, Tomika.
Thank you. Thank you. So glad that you're having me. This has been a long time in the making.
Yes, because didn't we meet a year and a half ago at the conference, the
Yes,
what was it?
absolutely.
Millennial Social Work Conference? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it might have been the Social Work Wealth Conference.
Was it? Okay. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'm glad we finally got connected. Oh, yeah. So that was a year ago because the Social Work Wealth Conference is coming up in October. And, there's a little plug for that one as well, but definitely worth checking out. So tell us, Tomika, in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I am Tomika Flowers. I've been a social worker, like you said, well over a decade, maybe even 15 years. I'm an LCSW. I have my master's in social work. Um, have lots of past experience in mental health. I've worked in inpatient, outpatient, homeless department, emergency rooms, crisis intervention. So lots of patient care. I've been an adjunct professor at the University of Memphis, and I've did some teaching here in Arizona as well. And right now, I'm still with the federal government, but I also own my own business, Gutsy Black Girl.
Hey, that's awesome. I love supporting the entrepreneurs. And we can talk more about what you have going on with Gutsy Black Girl at the end or some really juicy events coming up. So make sure, listeners, stay tuned for that. One thing you didn't mention, Tomika, is you are also a certified financial social worker, right?
Absolutely, yes, yes. I do have that certificate, and I'm a financial certified social worker.
So, what inspired you to pursue that type of certification and specialty?
Well, I got connected to the community, the Choose Fire community, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and what that means is to pay off all your debt, so financial independence, and retire early. And so I saw just how great of a community that was, and just how having debt off of your shoulders and off of your mind, just how freeing that was, and just how good it is for your mental health. So I just started researching and to see, after doing all of those things myself, paying off debt and educating myself, I really got passionate about financial literacy. So I wanted to know how I could help other people. So I ran across the financial certificate. I started doing some research, and I did the program and got certified. And, it's been great.
That's amazing. I love that. And I cannot even imagine my life with zero debt and retiring early because I mean, like a lot of other social workers, I feel kind of stuck. Like maybe I'm going to be working forever. And I know, especially coming out of school, you're looking at these entry level positions and you're thinking, like, okay, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to make this work? I have a family to support. I got to pay my rent. Maybe one day we can get a mortgage, right? Get our own house. And so for me personally, I remember I tried not to just think about money. I was like, okay, let me just meet my financial obligations. And it's very short term, right? Like just trying to make it day to day. And this is not my advice. Like, that is not what I suggest you doing, listener. But that was what I was doing. And I tried to ignore this because the money stressed me out. I didn't know where to start. I didn't understand numbers or the terms that people are using.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
I'm willing to bet that a lot of people listening right now are kind of in that same spot.
Absolutely.
And you had mentioned, or you do part of your workshops is talking about the impact that our financial stress has on our mental health. So what would you tell someone like me who maybe is just avoiding the numbers? I'm feeling the stress. I'm worried about bills. I don't know. Where do we even start?
Well, one of the first things that people must focus on, you hear a lot of speakers, and I had heard about it for so many years, and I'm like, why does everybody always start out talking about mindset? But then I began to put the pieces together and found out that that is just absolutely the first step. If you think about it, money is so taboo. We avoid talking about money. We don't want to talk about how much we make. We are afraid to negotiate when we go to these new jobs. We don't want to talk about what the mortgage is or the rent. So we have to get out of that mindset of not wanting to talk about money. So, you have to change your mindset. You have to get around other people who are living debt free lives, who want to talk about debt, who wants to talk about credit card rates and what it is to call up that credit card company and negotiate a lower interest rate. Or even when it's time to renew your rent, when it's time to renew your release, your new lease, you're able to negotiate. And people don't know that. When the landlord says, hey, it's time to renew your lease, I'm going to raise the rent $100. It's okay if you say, hey, I'm requesting for my rent to stay the same. Educating yourself, knowing that you can ask those questions, that you don't just have to go for, whatever is presented in front of you. So, mindset is a big thing.
That makes sense. And a lot of these things I didn't even know were an option. But what I'm hearing from you is the first step essentially is to talk about money and to find other people who are willing to engage in the subject with you, who are willing to talk about money. Because let's be real, not everybody is going to be talking about money. I know my family, we don't come from a family of money. So we're like, nope, my business is my business. Don't talk to me about your bills. And so it can feel isolating sometimes, but there are communities, and I'm sure you know of a lot more than I do. There are communities of people who specifically are open to talking about money and social work. Social workers managing
Absolutely.
money. Yeah. Which I think is a beautiful
Absolutely.
thing. Yes. And the other things that I heard from you are ask questions and negotiate. It sounds like
hmm
it, you don't, the worst they're going to say is no.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that it can be frightening as a intern. You're feeling like, oh, my only experience is my internship. But hey, that's work. You went into an agency, you assessed patients, you did treatment plans, you did risk assessments, you did home visit. That is social work experience. So don't be afraid to negotiate. You never know if you don't ask, and if you're going in and they are offering something, you at least want to see if you can get it up 5,000, 7,000, 10,000. You never know. They may fall somewhere right in the middle.
Yes, because I've heard from a lot of people and experiences that the business is going to offer you what they hope you will take, but a lot of times they do have some wiggle room. Like they'll generally start you at the bottom, but if you ask for more, there could be a good chance that you might get more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the other thing with the mindset is also how you talk about your experience, because you said, and I've heard this a lot too. Oh, I only have this experience. This is not only, y'all. This
Hmm.
is, you have professional graduate level experience or bachelor's level experience internships. Not everybody has that. So do not discount yourself. And like Tomika had mentioned, make sure that you are able to list out what it is that you did, because those are the
Absolutely.
foundational skills that you're going to need.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're going to hit pause on this conversation real quick because the next time that you need continuing education units, I highly recommend the Therapist Development Center. TDC has helped more than 100,000 social workers pass their licensing exams, including myself. I love that TDC CE courses are engaging and relevant. Amanda and her experts give us clear and practical skills that we can immediately apply to our work. Some of my favorites are their Edge of Life Suicide Prevention course, where Amanda shares her personal experiences, and their They Did What? Law and Ethics course that looks at real cases where therapists faced formal disciplinary actions. We are legally required to take continuing education to increase our competence, and most other courses out there don't actually teach the material in a way that we can learn it, but TDC does. Check out the links in the show notes. Yeah. So if we don't have the right mindset, if we don't have the people around us, how does financial stress, how does it impact our mental health?
Oh, one of the reasons why I made a transition maybe about 2 years ago, I mental health has always been my baby. I've always worked in mental health. However, during the pandemic, it was extremely stressful. I was doing outpatient, doing mental health therapy, doing interventions, and lots of people were hurting. People were depressed, they were anxious, they were calling agencies, trying to get SNAP benefits, trying to get their utilities paid. And agencies were strapped. Some of them were not even answering the telephone.
Mhm.
So not only were we stressed, and our clients were stressed as well. So just think about it. When you're boggled down with debt, you have problems sleeping, which leads to you being more irritable. You're more irritable with your family, with your children, with your spouse, and also it causes indigestion problems, leads to hypertension. It really impacts us. You can have stomach issues, ulcers, all of those things stress can lead to. When you're having all of this debt and can't sleep at night because you're up wondering how you're going to be able to not only pay your bills but get that debt off of you. It's a lot of stress on your body.
Yes, that sounds awful. And I can definitely relate. The other thing that I know that I've experienced is just reduced socialization because I feel like I don't have the money to fill up my gas tank or to go to brunch with my girlfriends. And so now I'm stressed out and I'm isolated. I'm missing out on fun times that are good for my mental health that help to hit that reset button. So, yeah, I can definitely see how there's a
Right.
lot of change.
Right. Right.
The one of the things that came up to me when you were talking, Tomika, is that the work that you're doing is breaking generational habits and
Mhm.
routines
Mhm.
because I'm thinking, okay, for a lot of us, this is just normal that our family stress about money. We grew up, we saw our parents not talk about it, but the only time we would talk about it is when, like, no, we can't afford that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you have anything, that you wanted to add about that, but it's really important work that you're doing, and for the listener, it's powerful to be able to break these generational, I don't know, routines, um, cycles, and I see that as really amazing.
Right, right. You're absolutely right. A lot of times growing up or within the family, you kind of only see the stress that money causes. You might see your parents kind of arguing about money or maybe getting a divorce due to money, but not the positive things. So, one thing, like you said, with breaking those generational curses, get everybody in the family on board. Hey, we're going to sit down and we're going to have a money date. That can be with your spouse, that can be with your children, and everybody at the table. And once a month on the third Thursday at 8 p.m., we're going to bring everything to the table and we're going to have a money date. Where is it that we're lacking? Where are the barriers? What areas are we doing good in? How can other family members contribute to the family? Having kids, even though we don't hardly do it anymore, write checks or anything, you know, just show them that concept. Show them what's in the bank account. Hey, we want to take a summer trip next year. What are some ways that we can cut in the household? Or how can we even bring some extra money into the household so we can take that trip next summer and don't have to put it on the credit cards and max them out again.
Yes, I love those ideas. And especially, I love bringing the whole family together because it teaches kids about money and realistic because, oh my gosh, I'll tell you, I was with my nephew this summer and I forget how it came up, but I was talking about how, oh, you need to have a job to get money. And maybe around college, right? Like if you're not able to land a good paying job, then you'll be making, maybe $20 an hour, and that's probably not going to get you that Ferrari. I think we are talking about cars, the Ferrari that you want. And which I'm
Mhm.
like, great kid, have these dreams, but let's talk about what it's going to take to accomplish that lifestyle. And he says, well, $20 an hour, I make 400 playing video games because on the video games, every hour, every minute, you get some obscene amount of money, hundreds of dollars. And so he has this distorted view of how much time it takes to make money because every minute he plays, he gets whatever, $200. And I'm saying, okay, kid, that is
Mm.
not real life. You cannot really buy a Lambo in one day.
Yeah, yeah, I can say, the community of the children now, they do want that instant gratification. And, with the new community, there is more ways now for people to make more money, and that comes on the other side too, where I'm an advocate for is the passive income, the side hustles, and you can make that a part of your life as well, because that was one of the ways that I paid off debt through side hustling. And every time I would get paid, I would have it go into a separate account, a high yield savings account, and I would dump that money immediately on my debt. So it's ways. However, it's good to just sit down with a professional, look at your entire money picture, come up with a plan, see what's best for you in your life, and then begin to pay down that debt and just have more money that you're able to do some things that you enjoy so you can lower that stress.
Yes, yes, for sure. I love this. I feel like we could talk about money all day. And I think that you do because you're hosting some workshops coming up. Tell us a little bit about these workshops that are happening in October.
Okay, I have two workshops, and yes, I'm excited about them. They always fill up, they're great. One of them is called Financial Wealth is Self Care, and I strongly believe in that. I talk about the top five side hustles, percentage wise. I tell you about the different statistics of debt. I talk more about the mental health aspect and what you can do to keep your mental health at a prime, where you need it to be, especially with everything that's going on today, and just how to mirror both of those things, having financial wealth and also having great mental health. So I really enjoy doing that workshop. And the other workshop is financial social work, because a lot of people don't know about this profession. So I tell you about their certificate, I tell you where to go to get it, the price of it. I talk to Rita a lot, and she gives my listeners a discount if they want to take their certificate. So I talk to you about what populations it benefits, and also how to use their certificate, and how to not only help your clients but help yourself financially.
Okay, great. And as far as the certificate goes for financial social work, who would be who would be a good fit for that?
Well, just think about it. We all can benefit from financial literacy. If you are working with homeless clients, if you are working with single parents, if you are working with people who have mental health concerns and they need a fiduciary, or they anybody who needs to make a budget, anybody who is impacted by inflation, higher car payments, just needing to budget overall, I can say 100% everyone can benefit from talking to a financial social worker.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, thank you for clarifying, Tomika. It was great talking with you today. Where can people find you and connect with you?
Well, you can definitely go to my website, gutsyblackgirl.com, and sign up for my newsletter. It's absolutely free. I send out weekly financial tips and self care tips. You can find me on Facebook under Tomika Flowers, or Instagram at gutsybgirl.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tomika. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. And listener, make sure that you are subscribing. If you have gotten any value from this episode, open up your podcast app, go ahead and share and text it to a friend, because we are all about sharing information. We're not about gatekeeping around here. Everybody needs this information. So please go ahead and share that right now, and we'll talk next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Social Workers Rise podcast. I want to give one final shout out to one of our sponsors, Social Work Wealth Con 2024. Thank you so much for your support of this podcast. Check out this conference in October with the link in the show notes.